Hey, this is Michael Williams. Thank you so much. I hope that you've had an opportunity to watch the previous videos. Today, we're going to look at this third challenge. And this third challenge is, what do you do when your progress is inconsistent, or worse, you're regressing, right? And I've seen this happen to people. Someone says, well, does that ever happen to your coaching class? Absolutely it does. When you go through something, it's just like if you take a Spanish class, or if you go through a diet, or you exercise, or whatever it is that you do. If you stop doing whatever you're doing, you can regress. It's not like a permanent installation where you install it and that's it. Now, for some people, it's like that. But for many, it's not. So does that mean, oh my God, I got to continue practicing for the rest of my life, you mean? No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. And I'll tell you why. The reason it doesn't mean that you have to practice. You got to do this daily routine, whatever it is, whatever program you get into, there's stuff that you have to do. And for some, you have to keep doing those same things, those same exercises for the rest of your life if you want to maintain some sense of fluency. Pro 90D is not designed that way. Now, there are people who they constantly have to go through that, but that's because they haven't implemented the entire program the way it's designed. And there are plenty of people who do, and they make a transformation. So the reason you don't have to do the same exercises over and over is because Pro 90D is designed to help you transform your identity, your mindset, right? Your identity, your mindset. It's designed so that every time you open your mouth to speak, you're practicing. So every time I go out and I speak to people, in a very, very real sense, I'm practicing. I'm always putting myself in different high-pressure situations, right? Constantly meeting new people, talking about new things, doing new things, right? So that I'm constantly practicing without having to do practice activities at home and, do this exercise, right? I don't have to do that because I'm constantly out there in real life situations practicing. And because my identity has been transformed, I don't see myself as a person who stutters, so I don't respond and react when I do have some disfluencies, and everyone does. So those two things, that I'm practicing every day when I speak to people, and my identity has been changed, what those two things do is they allow me to live a life free of needing to formally practice. Okay, to formally practice. Now, I may need to formally practice if I'm doing a presentation and I want to practice, right? Or if I want to up-level my skills, I may need to formally practice something, and that's okay. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to continue learning. But I don't need to practice speech activities, and neither will you when you implement the system in its entirety. So I thought that I would just say that to you so that you didn't feel hopeless, like, oh, I've got to do this for the rest of my life. No, you don't. So what do you do when your progress is inconsistent? You're able to speak well sometimes, but then other times you can't. Or if you're regressing, you find yourself regressing. You were doing really well, and all of a sudden you hit a bump and you started regressing for weeks, days or weeks or months. Well, when you do that, you may feel a little helpless because you just don't know when you're going to be able to perform well. So you're a little afraid to take advantage of speaking opportunities because you don't know how you're going to perform. You're afraid to speak up. Sometimes raise your hand. You don't know if you're going to be able to get it out that day. Sometimes I've talked to people and they say, well, when I feel confident, I know I'm going to have a good day. Or I'll wake up and I know I'm going to have a bad day. Well, you don't want to have to go through that. You want to wake up every day and know it's going to be a good day. Now, you may not feel as confident one day, but you still know you're going to be able to handle it. So what can you do when your progress is inconsistent or you're regressing? So here's a couple of things that you can do. Number one, you have to make sure that you use and implement a daily practice routine, right? And we've designed in Pro 90D a daily practice routine, and we're constantly optimizing, that is based on neuroscience, habit formation. It is based on observational learning. It is based on personal experience of mine and experience of clients just like you, people just like you, that go through the program and they say, this really works. And it's not just works for one person, but it works consistently for everyone. Okay. So All those things get built into optimizing a program that's not just based on theory, but is based on science and actual experience, right? We bring those two things together. So you can be sure that whatever's in the daily routine that we give you, whatever's in the program, is there for a reason. A lot of the things that I will share with you in the audios or in the videos or in the daily routine are in response to challenges that people have had, right? So we don't just throw stuff in there, but we're putting stuff in there that's relevant, that's very specific, that's targeted, it's designed to help address specific issues. So it's in there for a reason, okay? It's kind of an answer to a question, or it's a solution to a specific problem, all right? So the one thing that you must do is implement the daily practice routine. All right, so you wonder, how do I make my progress more consistent and not regress? You religiously implement the daily practice routine. And an important part of that daily practice routine is you're going out and implementing your new speaking pattern in real life situations. Remember I told you about my experience in Spanish. I can practice all I want by myself, and that will help, right? It will help, absolutely. I can even visualize, and that brings me even closer to a real life speaking situation. But it's not unless and until I get out, knee to knee, face to face with someone and speak in that kind of a situation that I'm able to develop, first of all, that new speaking identity, and second of all, my ability to speak smoothly and fluently and confidently. And it's going to be the same for you in English or whatever other language that you may be speaking, right? If you're struggling with your speech, you're going to have to implement what you're learning in real life speaking situations. Now, this goes back to something. Sometimes the key is knowing the one thing that you need to implement every time you speak to someone. So what I do with my coaching clients is I'll ask them, what's the one thing? So, we have them practicing everything, and then they'll say, what's the one or two things that helps you trigger your smooth speaking style the most, right? So they'll tell me, well, when I use my hands, when I do this, when I do that, I feel like I'm modeling. I feel like I'm definitely speaking smoother then. And we'll practice it, and I'll actually see them when they do this, they go into another mode, into another zone. And let me just, I just want to do a quick aside. I did a whole video for my coaching clients on this. I want to do a quick aside. And that is, some of you have heard of Tony Robbins, and you've heard the story, you've probably seen the video, where he seemingly healed someone or cured them, transformed them from stuttering. Instantly they started speaking smoother. People say, well, is that real? Did that really work? Did it last? So if you go do your research, you'll find that gentleman had to continue to work on his speech, right? And one of the things you find is that for him to speak well, he had to continue to speak more dramatically, with more energy. He had to keep his confidence level high for him to speak well. So when his confidence level dropped, when he wasn't speaking dramatically, then he still struggled with his speech, right? So he had to continue to practice, to continue to do that. So what did Tony Robbins do? What he did is he helped the guy transform his mental state. He transformed him. He took him into a higher state and a different state, which allowed him to really speak the way he's always been able to speak. He's always had the potential and capability of speaking well. What Tony Robbins did is took him into another state that freed him up, right? That he just kind of let go of all of these old memories of him stuttering, stammering, I can't talk. He let go of all of that, just dropped it away, and was able to perform well right there, okay? So, yes, he was able to do that, but that's just not a one-time thing. It's something that the person has to continue to transform their state, putting themselves in different speaking situations, continuing to transform their state until that becomes their new permanent state. Does that make sense? Okay. So therefore, and let me just add this. So when I first got started back in 2012, I didn't really want to coach. And I had this guy contact me. He kept asking me, I want to work with you, I want to work with you. And I wasn't coaching at that time, back in 2012. In fact, he probably started contacting me, it was early 2012. And so finally I talked with him. He says, hey, I really would like to work with you. My father and I have looked at all your videos. I had a few hundred videos at that time. Looked at all of our videos, and we want to work with you. I'd like for you to talk to my father. So found out that the father they were very, very wealthy. His father and family members were doctors. They had homes in the U.S. and homes in India. And the father, they had contacted Tony Robbins first because they saw that video, said, hey, it's Tony Robbins. We have enough money. Let's contact him. And Tony Robbins' organization said, this is not what we do. We don't do speech therapy. We don't work with people who stutter. That's not our focus. So they searched, they found me, they watched my videos, said, this is the guy for us. This is the guy. So I talked to the father, and the father said, if you really want to help people, selling books and audios and video programs is okay, but you're going to need to coach people one-on-one, one person at a time, take them from the beginning to fluent speech. I didn't want to do it, but I did it. Well, what ended up happening, long story short, is they hired me and flew me to India to stay with them for a whole month coaching their son. And flew me back the next year for a whole month just to do a follow-up. So I'm proud to say that the gentleman that I was coaching actually graduated medical school, and he's a doctor, he's married, and he's doing well now. Okay, so I'm saying that to say that Pro 90D has a major aspect that transforms your mental state. So it's not just about the speech, that's important, but it's also about your mental state, your identity, your mindset. And what you must do each day is work on your speech. Yes, there are certain activities that you need to do to work on your speech. And for many people, it's not the speech because it's totally situational. Their speech is fine. All other times it's when they're in high stakes situations. So then they have to do more mental work, more mental transformation. Well, that's in the program as well. And so you have to implement it, you have to practice, you have to do it on a daily basis. Okay? So one of the things that you must do to make your progress more consistent, not have you regress, is to implement the daily routine every single day, implement it in higher and higher pressure situations, and pinpoint the one or two things that you need to focus on the most. Okay, that's the one thing. And a coach can help you do that. The second thing is related to the first one, and that is that some of you may need to focus more on the mental transformational part of the program, more mental work. So this may mean more self-talk throughout the day, affirmations, and also self-talk, right? Learning to talk to yourself in the situation. I have a meeting, I'm doing a presentation. How can I talk myself down to be relaxed and confident? We have to learn how to do this. Visualization, actually picturing yourself, practicing that each and every day, right? Learning to put yourself into a mental state. Modeling, observational learning. The way you learn to speak your first language was through modeling. You didn't read a book, you didn't listen to, you watched and listened, you observed the people around you. So modeling changes your state. It literally transforms your identity, but you have to do it consistently. We're talking about right now, your results have been inconsistent, you've been regressing. So what do? You gotta implement the daily routine every single day. You have to implement it under pressure, and you may need to focus a lot on the mental side of it, right? On the mental side of it. And a big part of that, in fact, I'll say two major parts. One is the self-talk, what you say to yourself, and modeling, which transforms your state. So if you like what Tony Robbins did, then this is the key right here. And some people don't want to do it. It's too difficult. I don't want to speak like someone else. And so they don't do that. They do the other stuff. They never transform their state long term. So they're inconsistent. They're regressing. All the people that I know going through this program, and they're gone. They're out there. They're out there speaking, doing more and more. They don't even think about stuttering hardly. those are the people that immerse themselves, especially in the modeling. They transform their mental state, and within 2 months or less, they no longer had to think about their model. They had created their own model, their own new model of themselves, right? They had created a new speaking you, if you will, a new speaking them. Does this make sense? So some of you may need to focus on this mental transformational aspect. Others will need to focus on both the mental and the physical. But whatever you do, you have to do it consistently in order to see more consistency in your progress. I hope that's helpful. Now, one of the ways that you can accelerate this progress is to work with someone consistently, because you probably can't do it by yourself. If you're watching this, you've been trying to do it by yourself and it hasn't been working, or else you wouldn't be watching this. So you're going to have to make a decision. Do I want to invest and have someone help me and accelerate this progress, this journey, or do I want to keep regressing and having inconsistent results? So the only question is, do you believe that this will work? Now, I can't answer that for you. Only you have to answer that. You have to dig deep and say, do I trust this guy? Do I trust this process? Do I really think that this is going to work or not? If you don't think it's going to work, don't join. Just keep watching the videos, and unfortunately, you'll probably keep getting the results that you're getting. Okay? But if you do think it's going to work, then invest the time, invest your money, go all in, and let's do this, because I know you can do it. I believe that you can do it. And because I believe that you can do it, and I've helped other people do it, and I've done it myself, then as long as you commit to it, as long as you do the work that I ask you to do, you're going to get amazing results, and you're going to get your investment back. Remember, this is an investment into yourself. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Watch the first video, watch all of these videos, ask yourself where I fit. I want to invite those of you who are professional, you have interviews coming up, or you have ongoing high stakes, high pressure situations where you need to perform well. You've not been performing as well as you'd like, but you want to be, because you want to feel freer. You want to realize your potential, both financially and both personally, professionally, spiritually. And you know that you need to do something. You need to take some radical action now. Then set up your assessment session with me. And what we'll do is we'll assess your speech, and I'll tell you exactly what you need to do next to take your speech to the next level. Okay? Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you. Look forward to working with you.